Cromwell อันนี้เป็นคนอังกฤษคนนี้เป็นโรเจอร์วิลเลียมส์1959 Belser Knox นี่เป็นพันธุ์บุรุษของเพรสเบเรียนเป็นคนสกอตCalvin and Farrell Calvin เขียน Institution Religious Christian Institution of Christian Religion โลกินี
Yes, I sent you an email this morning just to make sure, but anyway. We're a small group. We're 12 plus mates. We're like 13 total.
Okay.
Sam with his video camera.
Hi, Sam. You're the official photographer. Hello.
Yes.
Sam, this is Marilyn.
Hi. Sorry.
So we have
Help me have your name.
Geiger.
Marilyn Geiger.
Geiger.
As in Geiger Counter.
Is
As in counter, exactly.
Is a Deutsch or French? Or English?
It's a German name, but
German name.
if you listen to me a little while, you'll know I'm American.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, sure. Hey, we can get started. I'll introduce you to our group here.
Okay. 4 is 12.
This is Marilyn, our guide, and it's wonderful when tours work. And the bus has a free parking area, and the guide's here on time, so it's wonderful the way it should be.
Yeah,
this is Marilyn,
this
and
is Switzerland. Everything works.
So over to you. I told them that Marilyn would tell us about the Reformation and also life in modern Geneva as an expat. She's American, and over to you. But this is folks from Minnesota and California and different places.
Okay, that was gonna be my first question.
Don't forget Idaho.
Idaho. Hey.
How about we go around and just say your name, where you're from, just so kind of Marilyn can get a flavor.
Yeah.
We'll start with you.
Ray Wilson, Idaho. Ray.
Tony
Ray.
Wilson, his wife, Idaho.
His wife, Idaho. His wife, Idaho. Do you have a name?
Harold Yoder, Minnesota.
Harold, and you've got a
Carol Yoder, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Kirk, I'm from Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Jay, Washington State.
Oh my, you're all northerners. That's interesting.
And
you're
Washington State.
Washington State also?
Jenny, Minnesota.
Minnesota, Washington State.
Frank from the Bahamas. I just haven't moved there yet.
Yeah, it's just, does that
Sam from Southern California.
Southern California?
No,
Where,
I'm
how
from
far-
Thailand.
From Thailand?
Yes.
Sawadee-ka.
Sawadee-ka.
Penny from Thailand too.
From Thailand too.
Siri from Thailand too.
But they live in California.
We live in California, Southern California.
Sawadee-ka.
So anyway, over to Maryland, and we got an hour and a half, 2 hours to go to the Reformation Museum.
Right.
And then what I'd like
You
to do.
need to be at the museum at 3, right?
Yes, and if we could do this, if we could walk from here past the benches, you always generally take us, then go past Place de Bourg de Fort, so we show them the restaurant, Au Pied de Cachon or whatever.
Yeah.
And then go to Cathedral, so we kind of get our bearings. This is where you need to be for dinner.
Don't follow me, you'll be lost.
Oh, I got my flag flicking around here.
Yeah, right. Okay, all right, a route.
Another route. This is
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah,
We
it's
let
easy.
you off easy. I did the UN, and we actually didn't get too lost.
You didn't get lost there either.
A few
No,
left
that's it. Well, did you? And then you came along the lake. Did you see the fountain?
No, we simplified the route.
Because I was just going to say congratulations because it's been off for a month and it's on today for the first time in a while. It's been being, they say revised, whatever, cleaned and whatever they do to it. But anyway, they make sure that it's there.
How high does that shoot?
That goes about 425 feet in here. 7 tons of water that you're looking at any one time. Comes out of the nozzle, 150 miles an hour, and whatever else do we need to know about the Jet d'eau? But it's been there. Do you know how long it's been there? Well, not every day it goes up and down, but I mean, it has existed since. It's old, you know. It's as older than I am. It is 1891. Wow. Yeah, most people think it's a modern. Oh, how clever! They got this insignia that makes a nice logo.
Right.
So I've got a different
It's all the
background.
maps and brochures.
Anyway, but no, it's been there since 1891, and it actually was modern Geneva. Before electricity, they used the current of the Rhone to run mills and all kinds of very refined machinery as well to make jewelry and watches and weave textiles and printing and so on. And of course, being good Calvinists, they were forbidden to work on Sundays and probably didn't work too late at night either. Anyway, because they also couldn't see, the pressure would build up in the pipes terribly. And finally, one particular Sunday, apparently, was getting very excited, and they were terrified the pipes would burst. And so some brave man threw himself on the valve and opened it up, and the water shot straight up in the air, just like it looks today. Wow. And that was an emergency measure, and people would go by then on Sundays along the bridge. It wasn't where it is now, it was downstream, and they'd go by and they'd look and go, oh, pretty, and so on. And so finally, once electricity was invented, there was going to be a big festival here in 1891, and they thought, we are making the quay, the waterfront drives, I call them that there were no cars. Parks along the lake, and they thought a fountain would look nice, because of course water is the symbol of life and all that, we love fountain. And they thought, why don't we put that up here? So that is how it got there in 1891, about a third as high as it is now. So they've raised it twice. No more will it be raised, A, because of electricity, and B, because it shouldn't be higher than the cathedral spire. Oh.
Right.
There we are. Respect.
So tell us about the wall. We've been here, but tell us your interpretation of it.
My interpretation of the wall, well, it's a big wall. It's as long as a football field. It's been here for 100 years, not quite as long as the Chateau. It was put here, well, now we're getting to restart. It was put here in honor of Calvin's 400th birthday. That makes it a little more than 100 years old. And this is because we had no monuments to Calvin at all, because when he died, and we get into the theology of Calvin, when he died, he had left very strict instructions that there be no fuss, muss, ceremony, pomp, circumstance, anything to do with his death. Very, very strict at that time, Protestant thing. In the minutes of the next day's council meeting, it just recorded that he had died. Done. But his followers wanted something, but yet he said no statue, no nothing, and so on. So it took them, we always say the Swiss aren't too quick, it took them 400 years to realize that they could have a monument to the whole movement, and therefore not really go against his wishes. He wouldn't have liked it. Anyway, we have our statue of him. So when they built it, they used, this is a very, in French, it's almost like a shrine, this area, because at the top of the hill behind the trees is the town hall, where it all began. And the government has been meeting there for almost 600 years, since 1440s. And then behind us, this was then the city walls. This was sort of marshy defense, and it got drained, of course. And the building over there, which is 18th century, but it was the first building that was called the University. Here was an academy founded by Calvin in 1536. A building built for it in 1559, which you would love to go by, but it's a waste of walking because of the scaffolding. And then the picture. Anyway, it's a Gothic sort of a structure in all the books. And it is where he started a faculty of theology and of philosophy. Anyway, when the walls began coming down, they built this building over here. So here we are, and the left-hand wing is the institution related to the Reformation. So the first building outside the walls of academia, shall we say. So here we are between it. So it's a very special site. So they built the wall, and on it they put, and it was quite disputed, but anyway, what you have is the 4 religious figures in the center who made it happen here. I know what it looks like. And then on the sides you have political figures representing countries where it had a major impact. So we'll start with, it's also then, I can say, framed in context by Luther. So 1917, he put up his 95 Thesis in Württemberg, and because of, well, we'll get to that later on. Anyway, he put up his thesis. Then the whole business moved south to Zurich, and you have Zwingli. Have you been in Zurich?
Yes.
Okay, so then you have Zwingli. So this is sort of in the Geneva focus. So we have our 4 religious figures. The first one is someone named Guillaume Farel, and the first 3 are French. He had been sent by Bern, and his whole idea had come through, well, from Germany, but then through Basel, Bern, Zurich, and it was the Bernese who were sort of protectors of Geneva. He finally said, it's time those guys learn to live in the proper way. It's kind of wild here at that time. They'd been cut off from trade with France. The church was corrupt here as well as everywhere else, and Calvin arrived and said, I can't stay here, there are whores in the street. Anyway, so Farel was sent down to get the Genovese to toe the line a little bit. and he was having great difficulty. And to his great joy, he heard a rumor that Calvin was in town. He was staying at an inn, and Farrell went right down there and practically, literally, on bended knee, as they say, how do we know, but where there's paintings of it, begged Calvin to stay here, saying, this is the place, this is it, this is where you really can make your movement take place. And of course, he didn't really want to do that. He was more a scholar and a writer. He wanted to go back to Strasbourg. He wanted to be here one night. And he never really liked Geneva, but anyway, he stayed here pretty much for the rest of his life. They were banished briefly, but then they were called back because the city needed them. Anyway, so it was Farrell who made Calvin stay here. And Calvin is the second one in, and you can see he's marking passages in the Bible, which of course is what it's all about. It's the Bible, and the Bible, and you will see this in the Reformation Museum. The first thing you walk into is a room devoted to the Bible. The next man over is Theodore de Beze, B-E-Z-E here, who was a French nobleman, and he had taken on the Reformation. He was teaching in Lausanne, and he was called by Calvin to come here and run the academy. And when Calvin died, Theodore de Beze took over Calvin's role as chief of the Company of Pastors, which is the only title he ever had. He was never really elected to anything. He never had a major position, but anything that went on in town would be referred to him. There was always this kind of push me pull you going on between him and the city fathers when you get to things like how much interest to pay in the banks and so on. Calvin encouraged them to do that because he could see the value of an economy rather than putting money under the mattress. On the other hand, it was 10% no, 4% no, 5%. I think they signed on 5. Anyway, so de Beze, though, was a French nobleman, which meant he had some pull at court in France and so on. So he helped the Huguenots in France a great deal to make their exodus for several times more easier. And was an academic person and the head of, I did say that, the head of the academy. The next one is last one here is John Knox, who you probably all know about. And he wasn't here very long. And while he was here, though, he did work on a translation of the Bible. And we try to be careful about that because there's a society here that does nothing but study Bibles, different translations and so on, in different languages. And people glibly, like a guide, would say, he translated the Bible. Well, it's a big book, and he was only here 2 or 3 years. And secondly, what seems to be the case is that it was pretty much done by people like Coverdale and so on, but he did a lot of annotations. Anyway, this becomes important as we get on with it. Anyway, he then went back, he worshipped at the feet of Calvin. He'd been banished from Scotland, banished from England, run out of France, and washed up here somehow, and worshipped at the feet of Calvin for, he was on a galley ship. But
he was kidnapped by the French from Scotland. Yeah.
And worshipped at the feet of Calvin, went back and started the Presbyterian Church. So much for that. Just to say, they knew each other, they knew of each other, they in some cases came along later, but there is a contact here, whereas Calvin never met Luther, for example, but they corresponded in the course. So, at the far end, your left is the Duke of Brandenburg. This is way up the north of Germany. They were welcoming Huguenots up there in this area, around Potsdam and so on. And there's a frieze and a citation in the language of the individual between each one. Not always each event have that person in it. It's a bit of a collage. But he's welcoming Huguenots into his duchy, and he's running out of money, and his servants are saying, "Sire, sire, what will we do?" And he said, "Melt the silver. Their faith is so strong." The next one is it's William of Orange, William the Silent, who, this is the time when the United Provinces, as they were called, broke away from Spain and very strongly adopted the Reformation. And he's one of the 2 citations of the people I like best here. He's one because as they signed their Declaration of Independence, his statement is that the ruler, the prince, should serve the people rather than the people serving the prince, which I think is very wise words that some of our leaders should think about. The next one over is Gaspard de Coligny, and he was head of the French Huguenot Party, who had the honor of being assassinated by Catherine de Medici, which set off a whole lot more massacres around France, which sent lots of Huguenots flowing again through Geneva, and you will see how they left the mark on the architecture by coming in. And he is next to, let's make it the right one, the signing of the Edict of Nantes is in the frieze next to him in front.